Hello and welcome. The greatest asset of Mauritius is surely its people, and its greatest assets for the future must be the present generation of young people. In this context, I've invited to the studio Amit Bhoonah, who is a young man with 7 years' experience at the Royal College, QAPIP. He is about to undertake his tertiary studies in America. Amit, can you summarize for us the experience that you've had at the Royal College?
Well, if I had to describe my 7 years at the Royal College in one word, I would use transformation. Really, because spending 7 years at that school has really transformed me. I came as a young boy, naive, and I grew up, passed by teenage, and then I think I can say that I'm an adult now. So basically, those 7 years were really the most marvelous ones of my life. I had marvelous friends, good teachers, guides because they were not only teachers, they were also guides. I remember in my early years, it was about the innocent child playing football and studying for fun. Then came my teenage years, and I really started to grow up and understand what going to the Royal College QAPIP is about. We are probably one of the best schools in the country. But that's really not what makes us that's really not what makes the aura of the Royal College.
What makes this aura? Is it the tradition, the history, those boards of laureates in the hall, or is it the quality of teaching?
Well, a bit of everything you've just said. Royal College QAPIP has a very proud 208 years old history, and that really galvanizes some youngsters in some way, because you belong to a rich tradition of very successful people, and that itself is very motivating. Now, the second aspect of Royal College is its culture. And what is in that culture is, the idea that you should always push yourself to your limit and go beyond that limit at times. And also always give your best, never ever give up. And also that culture of excellence, that is taught in classrooms, that is learned from teachers, and that is practiced among students,
And yet some people would say that the atmosphere at the Royal College is one of elitism. That is, when compared to some colleges around Mauritius, they choose the best students, they have some of the best teachers, they have the best facilities perhaps. Would you agree?
I think we are a secondary school before everything, so the facilities that we have are just like other schools. The teachers that we have come and go because there is the exercise of teacher transfer. So basically it's wrong to say that we have the best teachers because teachers are not there permanently. They change. But then I would say we have very friendly teachers, very good teachers, but not necessarily the best teachers, because I don't like the term, the best idea, the idea of best to teachers. Now, I have once one of my friends who came to RCC for a day or two actually told me it looks like a university. Now, the atmosphere there is definitely austere in some ways. Maybe it's because of the cold in QAPIP. But then, I think that's what's special about RCC. It's seriousness, its ability to remain serious, but yet, cracking a few jokes at times. That austerity that is there, that will always be there, but once you get used to it, you actually come to like it very much. And I think it is that atmosphere which acts as an incentive for us students to study hard there.
Amit, some people would say that the kind of pastoral care you received at the Royal College is not as good as in the Catholic colleges such as Saint-Esprit. What would you say to that?
Well, in my 7 years at the Royal College, I have witnessed a blood donation every year, and I have seen a benevolent club where students actually go to visit underprivileged children, old people, disabled people, and actually give them gifts, give them money, help them. So I think it is not right to say that we don't receive pastoral care at all, because we do. And also, the purpose of pastoral care is actually to form a well-rounded citizen, a compassionate citizen. So on that aspect, I think we did receive a lot of talks on the issue of, being good citizens, doing good, etc. So I think we did receive some pastoral care.
During your 7 years, you witnessed the impact of the reform on the Royal College. That is, it became a sixth form college and back to a full college thereafter. What impact did this have on you and your colleagues?
Well, when me and my colleagues actually entered the Royal College, we were the last batch that came from the ranking system. And for the next 5 years or so, we were always the youngest students of the school, which means that in Form 2, there were no Form 1s, Form 3s, there were no Form 2. So I think the school population diminished. And you know, if there's one thing that makes the Royal College good, it makes the Royal College what it is, it's the people, and the people. So basically, when that population diminished, I think the Royal College lost some of its aura. And that's probably why, you know, the regionalization system was not as good as, of course, the other system, the new system.
It must have been very strange when in September, October and November the college was empty when it was a sixth form college, because no one goes to school and continues with private tuition during those months.
Well, you know, as you are right about that. In the months of September, the rate of absenteeism is very high. Now, on one part, it is understandable because, you know, the syllabus is over. Students might feel they have to work at their own pace. It will be better for them. It gives them better preparation to work at home at their own pace and then meet their teachers when they have to go to school. But I will always remember one of my own experience where, you know, I was at school. I was the only student present in my class, and to be honest, I wanted to bunk.
Good boy.
Actually, and then I stayed in class, and I met my physics teacher, and I was having a problem about a chapter called cathode ray oscilloscope, which, you know, after 3 to 4 days at home, I still wasn't able to understand. So when I met my teacher one-on-one, he explained it to me, and I understood that. So basically, I think if students took the incentive to go to school, then the teachers would actually work. Doesn't matter whether there's only one student or 35 of them, the teachers are there to work and they will work. But what I think the problem lies in the fact that we have created a mindset here that says that, you know, once you're in Form 5, you're in Upper 6, when comes the second term and you have to absent yourself. So I think that's really what causes this absenteeism.
Are you a defender of the private tuition system? That is, teachers who during the day may not put all their energies in their teaching are prepared to give private tuition for long hours after school.
Well, private tuition does have its benefits as well as its drawback. You know, if somebody, in some cases, the class population might be too big and students might not get that attention they need to get, and so they fall behind others. And for those students, you know, private tuition is a good thing because it helps them get that individual attention that they need so that they can actually cover what they have missed in class.
Isn't the cause of private tuition the fact that teachers aren't paid enough for what they do in class and they have to supplement their wages after school?
Well, there is an amount of truth in what you say. You know, some teachers actually can make twice or thrice their own salaries in tuition. So tuition provides an incentive for teachers to actually, because they earn more. But now I would say this, you know, if students didn't go to teachers for tuition, then teachers would not give tuition. So it's basically a two-way traffic, you know. And I think the idea of private tuition came about, you know, with the competition that we face. Students think that, you know, if they go to tuition, they have more preparation, so that actually gives them a better chance to compete for the scholarships. So basically, I think to reduce the effects of private tuition, we actually need to make our system less competitive.
In other words, focus less on the exams and focus on an education system that creates well-rounded individuals. Do you feel our system does that?
Well, if you would look at the schooling rates, we are one of the best in Africa. But in our education system, I think if it is best, it can always be better. So on that part, our education system needs to go towards creating all-rounded citizen. It needs to digress from that, very academic, exam-oriented path and walk towards, creating better all-rounded individuals. Now, how do we do that? We have to actually make our studies more interdisciplinary, because for now, if someone wants to study science, he will have to study science and only science. If he wants to study literature, it's literature and only literature. But why can't somebody study chemistry and English literature at the same time? We need to develop that, interdisciplinary approach, and that's why I have the IB system in mind, the International Baccalaureate system.
Indeed.
Because, the IB focuses on 6 disciplines instead of only 1. So it's like you take fewer subjects but in more disciplines than more subjects but in fewer disciplines. And the IB system also has some amount of benevolent work that the student has to do, and also a writing assignment of about, I think, 4,000 words. So it's definitely better because it goes towards creating more all-rounded individuals.
But do you see this ever happening until you become Minister for Education?
If I do someday have the privilege of becoming a Minister of Education, certainly I would want to look into it. I don't know about other ministers, but I think they will have the best interest of our students in mind. So they may actually look into the IB system, because it's becoming more and more clear that the IB system is better and prepares the individual to become a citizen of the world more than ever.
You seem to have been a citizen of the world, a well-rounded student. You took part in a number of extracurricular activities. Can you tell us about this?
Well, my activities, I'll mention a few. I participated with a group of 3 of my best friends at a national science challenge where together we built a remote-controlled submarine. Oh. Then I was also part of my school's editing team. I took part in the Model United Nations as a delegate and then as the Secretary General. And finally, I was selected to represent Mauritius and the Southern African region at a summit hosted by the British Council in January 2008.
Tell us about that to begin with. What kind of people did you meet in London, and did you make a speech on behalf of Mauritius, and what did you tell them about Mauritius?
Well, regarding the people I met, it was really a very diverse group of people. Some of them would be working for internships at the United Nations at 17 or 18. Others would have been to jail. So one in particular that really marked my life was a Palestinian, because he actually told me about the violence that he experienced at checkpoints and all those difficulties of belonging to a country that is not recognized. So really, I think the diversity there that I met Brazilians, I met Africans, I met Europeans. So really being able to sit on one table and listen to all those stories is the most magnificent and humanly enriching experience of my life.
So travel broadens the mind.
Yeah.
And your mind is a very good one, because you took part in the Brains Trust here at the College of the Air.
Yeah, I did. And we actually won that.
You mean the Royal College one?
Yeah, the Royal College.
And what is the value of having a Brains Trust? Isn't that another form of elitism?
Definitely not, because the Brains Trust is actually an assignment. It puts you under pressure and sees how you react to that. If you take a normal public speaking competition, you'd get the topic 1 month in advance, get all the time of the world to do your research, to brainstorm, and then to come up with a speech, review your speech, rehearse your speech. But for Brains Trust, it's different. You are given 45 minutes for the preliminaries, 1 hour for the finals, to brainstorm. You'll get your topic on the spot. You have to brainstorm, prepare your speech, learn it, and then deliver in 45 minutes. And that is what it's tough about. I still remember my memories in my year when we had the topic for the final that regarded politics, and in just about an hour we had to review the Mauritian political system.
That's very difficult, isn't it? In a way to do this in a systematic way.
Yeah.
What ideas did you put forward about politics in Mauritius?
The ideas came from my friends, my fellow participants and myself, and we did propose numerous reforms for the political system. the most remarkable one being the election of our president, then the abolition of the best loser system, and now I'd like to mention how we proposed the how of abolishing the best loser system as well. We actually proposed that instead of electing 60 MPs and then selecting 10 best losers, we would actually elect 70 MPs directly and use the system used by the House of Representatives in the US, whereby MPs would be allocated in a population ratio basis, which means that the most highly populated constituencies would have the greatest number of MPs, so that a total of 70 MPs would be elected by the people. Also, we proposed the separation of the Attorney General's office with the government office, and then some meager reforms like privatization of radio, etc., which all go into the context of making Mauritius, I think, more liberal, more democratic.
Youth is very optimistic. Do you envisage taking part in politics at some stage in the future and changing Mauritian society if it needs changing?
The way I see myself, I'd like to be in a policy-making decision one day, and that certainly involves politics, but it's not limited to politics. So, you never know where life can bring me to, but I'd definitely like to be in that position, in that power to change things for the betterment of people. Yeah, definitely.
You have taken part in the Model United Nations conference here in Mauritius on 3 occasions, I think, and you're the Secretary General. Can you tell us about this?
Well, the Model United Nations is a simulation of the real United Nations, which is, it is an international project actually, and here in Mauritius we've been doing it for quite some time. It is a 3-day event, whereby on the first, which involves actually students from across Mauritius. Just to give you an idea, I think we had about 800 students in 2008 from all over the country coming together for 3 days, and that's actually why I like to refer to the Model UN as a youth gathering. Now, on day 1, delegates actually, there are actually different groups of participants. There's the Secretary General, the Deputy Secretary General, there are chairpersons, there are delegates, there are security officers, there are secretaries, and there are press officers. And all of them are students. On day 1, delegates actually read country statements, which are statements prepared by the country specifying its position on certain issues. On day 2, which is the most crucial day, students, actually delegates, discuss, debate a number of issues and try to vote and adopt resolutions to solve certain problems of the world. Topics they discuss might include the economy, environment, energy. There's also the Security Council, which discusses real problems, like for example this year we had discussions about the problem in Afghanistan, the crisis in Zimbabwe, the crisis in Tibet. So we try to discuss controversial issues like the real UN does around the table in a respectable way, so that it actually tends to create very respectable citizens of tomorrow.
It seems to me you would like to be Mauritian ambassador to the United Nations, and you would also like to be Secretary General one day. Is there any chance of a Mauritian ever becoming Secretary General?
Well, you never know. Actually, the Secretary General is appointed by the General Assembly under the recommendation of the Security Council on a continental shift system. For example, Kofi Annan, His Excellency Kofi Annan, was actually an African, and his successor, His Excellency Ban Ki-moon, is an Asian. So basically, it depends. We'll have to send our best candidate when the turn comes for an African to become Secretary General. So you never know.
That's very interesting. I might ask you if the debates in fact take place in English, and if the standard of English is very high at those debates in Mauritius, not of course in the United Nations where they have translators.
Actually, the official language of the Model UN in Mauritius is English, and I think the Model UN is a platform for students to express themselves. To be honest, the level of English across Mauritius is not that good. It's not as good as it can be, because students don't actually have the chance to speak the language. So for Model UN, I think the standard can definitely be better with more preparation. I mean, more empowerment, more those 4 months that they get to prepare. I think students should actually try to speak more often so that they come to the Model UN more fluent in English.
How do you explain the fact that the standard of English is declining in Mauritius, whilst the standard of French, which sounds so much like French,
Yeah.
is on the up? Is it something to do with not having an oral exam at HSC level in English?
I personally disagree with the aspect of having an exam to see how good you speak English, because you don't speak to actually pass an exam. You speak to communicate with people. You speak English because it's the language that the world understands. And I think regarding the decline, I think the idea of why the decline is because people speak a lot more French than they speak English, so it doesn't provide that opportunity to actually speak and be fluent. If you would look at students who actually took courses in English language, with speaking courses, at various centers that are offered, at the start they are a bit shy, they do not speak that fluently, but when they actually get the practice, they actually become very fluent, and that just proves the whole point. Speak more and you'll be able to speak better.
In other words, they don't have enough practice at home or amongst their friends, where presumably they speak Creole.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't speak English at home and I wouldn't speak English with my friends, but I would speak English at school. I would actually speak English in official matters where I'm visiting a meeting with people, offices of education, etc. So I think that type of opportunity is what is actually missing.
And tell us about your own plans for the future. You plan to study in the States, I believe.
Yeah. It is my childhood dream to actually study in the United States of America. And I, of course, if I can, I would like to study nuclear engineering as a first degree and then study international relations as well. The reason why I want to study nuclear engineering is because it is my childhood dream to actually be a scientist. And as a young boy, I used to be very interested in astronomy. And those beautiful pictures of stars, mind-blowing pictures. And then whilst I studied astronomy, I realized that I was more interested in the nuclear processes in stars. So I kind of digressed into nuclear engineering, and today I find myself totally passionate about that.
You have given Mauritius its first submarine in your project. Where is this submarine now?
The submarine is in my garage, actually. Yes. Being kept there, and together with my friends, we actually intend to make it work, and perhaps see where we can donate it, because we'd like to actually donate our skills. So it can serve as an incentive for others to come up with better projects than ours. Why not?
You mean the government didn't make you an offer to turn the submarine into the first Mauritian submarine in Port Louis?
Oh, okay. We are probably too young to undertake such a huge project. Yes. But it is true that after the competition, we were not really offered any concrete way forward. Whilst I'd like to take the story that actually inspired me and my friends for this project. It's a movie called Rocket Boys, whereby a group of 3 friends, I believe, actually built a rocket, won the competition with that rocket, and with that competition got scholarships into the best universities of the US. So had our project.
What was your prize?
A mobile phone, I believe.
And did it work for long?
1 year.
So nuclear energy now, can you see much use in Mauritius for nuclear energy? Will you stay abroad? Will you come back to Mauritius?
Well, regarding the question of coming back, if I am to come back, then I would like to see a place where, if I want to reach somewhere, I'll have to walk up the stairs of hard work without actually seeing somebody else stand in the elevator of political backing and reach there before me. So that's the type of condition that I want before coming back, to earn my standard.
And do you feel there are many opportunities for people to work in Mauritius when they've studied overseas? What about the question of opportunity?
I think if we provide incentives for our expatriates to come back, then definitely they would love to come and serve their motherland. But the idea of, opportunity does not really mean, you know, an office like doing research at a particle accelerator office in CERN. It means, you know, providing them with the right payment, with the right salaries, giving them incentives like a duty-free car, and giving them the respect that they deserve.
Well, I wish you all the best, every success in your future career, and I do hope you come back to Mauritius and become Minister of Education. I look forward to that. Thank you very much, Amit, for sharing your views.
Thank you.